Yeah, hi, hello. This is episode 6. I'm not 100% sure, but this is an episode of You Sync with, me, your host, Taliyah Joelle. I feel like every time I make one of these episodes, guys, I really don't, know where they're gonna go. Obviously, it's weird, when you're just kind of, talking to yourself in a space or talking to the camera, and there's no one here. So I asked for your guys' help on Instagram, and a lot of you guys have been struggling with this feeling of just feeling behind in life. And I think that is something that all of us can agree that we have mutually felt, and it's frustrating and it's annoying because obviously comparison is the thief of joy. But I think that there's a little bit of solace in knowing that you are not alone in how you're feeling and that so many people feel the exact same way. I think that, and if you guys have seen my previous episodes, you know that I spoke a little bit about my career path and so on and so forth. But when I graduated college and had decided that I no longer wanted to go to PT school and I no longer wanted to explore that route with the military and so on and so forth, it came to a point where I felt so much shame. I felt so much shame because I was comparing my path to my peers' path. It's also one of those things where I'm looking at everyone else and they're going to grad school and med school and all these different schools, or they're starting their careers or they already have jobs lined up, and I didn't have that and I didn't have a plan. And I'm not gonna lie, a woman's ego was scorned. Okay, it was absolutely scorned. I was annoyed and pissed off, and I hate it when people ask me that question, what are you doing after school? I don't know what I'm doing after school. Stop asking me that, please. But it was really just because I had a lot of shame and insecurity that I felt like I was off track or that I wasn't on this path that I initially was, right? I feel like from a really, really early age, and it's constantly promoted throughout our entire life, that we're taught that, we go to school, we do well in school, we go to college, we do well in college, we get a job, we have a career, we do well in our career, we have a boyfriend or girlfriend, and we get married, and you get a house, and then you have kids, and then you just work the rest of your entire life until retirement, and then you have grandkids, and then you die. And I don't know, something about that just doesn't really sit too right with me. It just didn't feel right when I was in school. It doesn't even feel right now, because again, that timeline that has been pushed onto us or marketed onto us, or the propaganda of that, that timeline's not real. It's not real. It never was real. And it sucks because we hold ourselves to a standard of something that never truly existed. I'm 25, and I think that when I was a kid, I thought that when I turned 25 that I was going to be married, I was going to have a house, I was going to be, a PT or a lawyer or a doctor. I thought I was going to have these cute little babies, and that was just gonna be my life at 25. And I look back at that and I feel sad a little bit for my younger self, and also a little bit of envy, thinking that it is as simple as that, or that it was going to be a one-step track and I wasn't gonna have any issues moving forward. And I'm just damn, to have that wonder and optimism in such a world that you don't have to think, so serious about when you're that young, about insurance and paying bills and car notes and worrying about student loans and stuff like that. I'm jealous of the younger version of myself who didn't have to think about those things. But in saying that as well, I also offer my older self grace, realizing how much change is happening right now, where I thought my biggest developmental years would have been in high school, or me just going through and navigating through college. I'm realizing as I'm older that the struggles that I'm having, the problems that I'm having, the lack of knowledge that I have in so many other spaces, it is supposed to be like that in your 20s. It's supposed to be like that. I'm nowhere near as hard as I was on myself when I don't know how to do something, or when I can't figure something out, or when I'm stressed, because I'm this is how it's supposed to be. It's for the plot. It's for the character development. And then it makes me really, really anxious and excited for that time when I'm in a space where I do know what I'm doing and I have it all figured out, or have it all figured out with quotation marks around it. Now, before we do get started, I want to go ahead and introduce this week's sponsor. Now, you guys already know that I am a huge advocate for mental health. I always have been. I think it is one of the most underrated things that we should be prioritizing, and I know that sometimes getting help can feel a little bit scary and nuanced, and it also feels silly at times, but I can personally tell you from experience that it's not, and it shouldn't be overlooked. First off, I just want to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring this week's video and constantly supporting this channel. For me personally, speaking to a therapist has been extremely beneficial to my growth and development as a young woman in her 20s. If you guys know my story a little bit, you do know that I've struggled with a crappy childhood, unfortunately, dealing with parents with substance abuse issues and verbal and physical abuse. It's a lot. And I think there was a point in time when I thought that I could solve every issue I have. And as I've gotten older and the longer that I've gotten help, I've realized that like that is just something that I can't always do. I can't always show up for myself in those spaces, especially when you just don't have the tools or skills to do it. I really enjoy how BetterHelp was able to connect me to a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and offer me extremely unbiased and helpful advice. Now, all I had to do was go on their site. I answered a few questions, and BetterHelp was able to match me with a licensed therapist who has years of experience with helping people with similar struggles to me. Now, for me, my first therapist wasn't the perfect match that I was necessarily looking for, and that's okay. That's kind of just the name of the game. It takes a little bit of time to figure that out, but BetterHelp made it really easy for me to get matched with a new one, and now me and my girl go together real bad. Now, you can choose to do the therapy through your phone, whether that's like text, messaging, voice calls, video calls. I'm a video call girly. I like that eye contact. It really speaks to me, but it's truthfully whatever you're most comfortable with. If you are struggling with anything, okay, I highly encourage you to let BetterHelp connect you with a therapist who can support you like they've supported me. You can visit betterhelp.com, or you can click my channel name during sign up at Taliyah Joelle and enjoy a very special discount off your first month. Okay, so one of the bigger things that I want to talk about this, right, is that myth of the timeline. That timeline doesn't exist. I said that earlier, and it's going to widely vary depending on person to person, and I wish that that was something that I could grasp. Dear God, oh my God, you know, like, and I'm thinking about it too, like there are some people who go to graduate school, right? Like their timeline would be different than mine. That'd be a couple more years. Or people that are in medical school, like my best friend, her timeline looks severely different than mine, and I wish that I wouldn't compare my timeline to someone else's timeline, because they're going to be different. You're different people. You have different goals, different aspirations, different struggles, different life lessons, different upcomings, and all of that plays a huge role. It's crazy because, you know, even in watching like Love Island, like this most recent season of Love Island, there's so much discourse and so much back and forth and so many different opinions that has just shown me that people do truly view and let their experiences truly dictate their actions, okay? Truly dictate the path that they're on. And like that is so jarring to me. You know, it's super jarring to me, because whereas I used to view things from one lens and think that why like, is this not obvious to everyone else? But it's not. And the same thing goes for this path that you're on in your life. It's going to be different because you're different, and that's okay. Don't even get me started on social media, okay? Like that literally will suck the joy out of someone if you want to hate yourself and hate your life. And sometimes I forget, like even myself who's in this space, I look at it, I'm like, oh yeah, like that person's living this life. Oh yeah, like that person's moving faster or getting more popular faster, or they have more money, or they this and that. And I'm like, oh my God, can you relax? Okay, when I get upset about stuff like that, I think, and this may be really, really dark, so I just want to say a quick trigger warning before I continue, but I think about Robin Williams. Anytime I start feeling a little sad about where I'm at in life and so on and so forth, I think about Robin Williams, because I'm like, he brought so much joy and love and life into media and into movies and into my childhood. I could look at his life and think that it was perfect and that everything he was doing was right and that he's never had a single struggle in the world. And then I think about how he took his own life, and then I'm reminded that, like, even though I'm looking at someone who ideally would have this perfect life with all this recognition and joy and love, like that for them still wasn't enough, you know, or like that, even though it appeared to be one way, it just obviously, like, we're not seeing the full picture. And that's when I think that's what I do to remind myself about, like, the way that I'm feeling. I'm like, I'm feeling really, really down, or I'm feeling behind, or I'm feeling sad because I'm not where I'm at, or I'm not feeling the way that I want to feel. And I have to remind myself that the people that I'm looking at probably also don't feel that way. It is one of those things where, like, you're struggling to kind of find yourself and figure yourself out, and you may think that, like, just because you have a good job, or that you live in a good house, or you live in a good apartment, or, you know, random things that don't really matter are adding value to who you are in society. It does not matter. At the end of the day, you're not happy, right? You really haven't figured out life yet if you haven't figured out how to be happy with who you are and where you're at. And so this feeling of feeling behind, it's, again, like, it's imaginary, because the people that you're comparing yourself to probably feel the same way. You can be really proud of all the things that you've done and still feel lack. And I used to think that, I'm like, once I get to this point, like, I'll be good. Once I get to that point, I feel so much better. And I'm telling you that every milestone that I have gotten to, there is still an ache. There is still an ache in there. It's still something missing. And that's okay. That's okay. Like, I'm figuring it out. I'm young. I'm 25. And any of you who don't think 25 is young, you. It is young. 30 is young, 35 is young, 40. All right, I feel like by 40 I should have it figured out. Again, like it takes that self-reflection to really get to that point, and that determines the pace, right? I think like we're focusing on these external things in society that don't really matter, and I think that if we all started to really focus on like how to be the best version of ourselves, which sounds corny, I hate saying stuff like that, because I'm like, like you're just trying to be motivating and blah blah blah. Wait a minute, okay? I can admit myself, I've been a dirtbag. A couple of years ago, if you guys saw me on Love Island, I'd be the enemy. I'd be the enemy. I'd be considered a mean girl, whatever it was. I would have been considered that because I was selfish, because I was unwilling to grow as a person, because I was unwilling to reflect and take accountability. And I think that when you start focusing on how to be that person that does that, right? That is when this timeline idea, that is when this feeling behind like starts to fade away, because you start to really bring yourself back into reality. Like, okay, like, yeah, like I'm not where I want to be at yet, but I know where my heart's at. I know who I am. I enjoy the people that are around me. I'm patient with the space that I'm in because I know that I'm building something strong, and I know that I'm building something meaningful and beautiful, versus like, you know, people trying to have a million followers, or like people trying to be super rich, or people trying to be the smart in their class, or whatever the it is, like, or like you're trying to be the best worker at your job. Like, that doesn't matter if there is no purpose or meaning behind it, right? If you don't stand for something, you don't have something to say. People can feel that. Like, people can truly, truly feel that. You know, I think that I could even bring this timeline thing into relationships. Like, I feel so behind in my love life. And sometimes talking about it makes me a little sad, because I know that, like, the reason I feel behind in my love life is just because I feel like I've never really felt like love. And that feeling like sucks as a black woman, right? As a black, you know, for my younger, obviously I'm black, but for my younger self, my child self, like I feel really sad about that, because I'm like, damn, like you look at people around you and you're like, oh, they're getting married and having babies. My cousin Satira, she's getting married, and I love that for her, and I love that she's found her person. But I'm also happy I don't live in Virginia, because a lot of my peers that I went to class with or I grew up with are getting married and having families and kids and houses, and like I can look at that and be like, damn, like why am I not loved? Like, why haven't I found someone that is going to appreciate everything that I have to offer? And I'm gonna start blaming myself for that, even though I know it's not my fault. I'm here to tell you, like, I have to constantly remind myself that my time will come, and I'm patient and I'm willing to wait, because I know that when it does blossom and it does flourish, it will be something that is magical. Sometimes I hate the fact that I read all these fantasy romantasy books, because I'm reading about men that I wish that I could experience, or love that I could experience, and it makes it a little bit difficult and a lot more annoying walking through life and dating in this society, like when I just want a character out of a book. But again, like I said, if the idea to me was that like I met my true love, someone that it is, you know, in like inseparable person, and I'm 30 or I'm 40 or even 50, that is so worth the wait. And like that's how it is for some people. That's why people get married, right? That's why some people get divorced. That's why people get remarried. There's so much to navigate through in that, and I just know that like the reason why it's taking so long is because I'm so picky, and that's because like I'm not willing to settle for anything less than what I deserve. And like I know some of you guys can be like, you delusional whore. I'm just a gangster that loves love. But like that's what I have to remind myself, that like I can't look at my cousin's relationship or my best friend's relationships and be like, ugh, like when is love gonna find me? When am I finally gonna stop going on our annual New Year's trip alone? Like I just know that God has something really, really magical and really beautiful waiting for me, and I'm okay with that, and I'm okay that it doesn't look like everyone else's life, and you're gonna be okay if that's something you're struggling with. Sometimes those feelings of loneliness can amplify that feeling of being behind in the dating scene or realm, but there will be someone out there that appreciates exactly who you are. I think even like, again, like bringing it back to Love Island a little bit, watching Amaya Papaya like just be so much herself, and understanding that like there is someone out there that's going to appreciate her for her, like also instills a little bit of confidence in myself that, like she said, you know, not everyone's meant to read this book, and like if it takes longer, that's okay. It's just gonna be a really good read. And then to really piggyback off of that, right? Like growth happens at different paces for everyone. Okay, like I've been fortunate and blessed enough to have a best friend to clock me a couple of years ago and work on the things that I have and be there with me and support me and have patience with me. But I know that not everybody has that. Trying to develop a relationship when you have so much to work on and you're not even willing to acknowledge that or take accountability for that, like, yeah, like that's gonna stunt the timeline a little bit that you have in your head. The reason why you haven't found love is because you're not ready for it, and your partner, whoever it is out there, probably isn't ready for it either. And that again brings solace, because I'm just like, okay, like, yeah, like I'm ready for a relationship, but then I'm like, I have so much to work on. I'm sure you have a lot to work on too, and that's okay. Like, that's okay. We're navigating this space together. We're not supposed to have it all together yet. We're supposed to learn and grow. Like, imagine how boring life would be if we had it all figured out. Like, that sounds so dry, you know what I mean? Like, that's not, like, there are some lessons that, like, and though I do not like to learn lessons the hard way, sometimes you do just need to learn them the hard way. Okay, sometimes you do. Sometimes you need that reality check, and it sucks because, like, when I even think back to, like, my dating history, I'm like, damn, like, if I hadn't gone through this, I wouldn't have known that this is something that I do or that I can't handle, that I'm not okay with. Or, like, if I hadn't approached it this way, I would have never known that that is something that I need to address early on, or so on and so forth. And so instead of, like, being upset that, like, I don't have this relationship that I feel like I should have at this point, even though I don't get to pick when I have that, I'm, like, grateful that, like, I've had the experiences that I've had, and that I've grown from them, and that I've learned from them, and that I can take those skills into the relationship that I'm meant to be in. So objectively, right, like, you're looking at it single, but then, like, internally I'm like, but, like, there's so much growth that happened. And, like, I would much rather be single with this growth than be together with someone, not learn and from everything that I've gone through and experienced, or be with someone that, like, you're not supposed to be with. Okay, I would much rather be single, be married to someone that I know isn't my person, because I can just see the underlying resentment and hatred, like, pouring out of me because I'm resentful. I'm evil. Another thing that I feel like is important to talk about in this space, right, is financially feeling behind. You know, I did not come from a well-off family by any means, and I was fortunate enough to have been able to figure out a way to pay for my school with the military. I also want to make it very clear that, like, if you don't have that support system and you're struggling financially, that's normal to be struggling in your 20s. Like, that's so, like, no one is expecting you to be a millionaire or rich or anything like that. And I do think the 20-year-olds that do get to that point really early on, you know, I don't want to say it's just luck, because obviously, like, it is something that, like, me personally, at the space that I'm at, it's something that I've worked really, really hard to. But I don't want someone to compare their financial struggle with someone else's financial struggle, especially on the internet, or lack thereof financial struggle, given that, like, the situations and the circumstances are so different. When I first graduated college, I graduated with no debt, and that was a blessing. Granted, I do owe the military my life. Granted, I did sign away my soul, and so, like, it's a little give and take. But I remember when I wanted to move to Florida, and I was like, damn, I don't have any money. Like, I don't have any money. And getting to Florida was a struggle. And when I finally was in Florida, I was applying to Twin Peaks. That was before I had my ninnies done. I applied to Hooters, like the whore I was. I was like, let me get a little bit more attention in a cute outfit. I applied to every restaurant, like all the nightclubs, all that stuff, and I did not get accepted to any of those jobs. And obviously, granted, like, I was extremely overqualified, too much personality and too much pizzazz for them. I had to work at Olive Garden, which was my college job, which is no issue or shame at working at Olive Garden. I think working in the restaurant business is great, but in doing that, I literally was maybe making $2.5 to $3K a month, which you know, like, when you're living on your own for the first time and you have to furnish a apartment, because that's what they don't tell you. Getting the apartment, easy. Furnishing it, oh my God, so expensive. Like, and then, like, with gas prices being at what they were at the time, like, it was such a struggle that I literally remember, like, me and my best friend were quite literally paying paycheck to paycheck. Like, I remember texting my brother, like, every week or month, please, can I just have $12? Like, can I just have $11? Like, please, like, begging my brother for money. And I remember and this is my delusion, I was like, oh, like, you help me now and I'll help you then. His didn't want to help me, so I won't be sending him nothing now. I'm just joking. But I remember that feeling of being like, damn, like, I literally remember thinking, I'm like, damn, I cannot believe this is what life after college looks like. I cannot believe just how miserable it is right now to be in this space and not even be able to go out and enjoy myself on the weekends because I can't afford it. I had to remind myself that in that moment, I'm like, yeah, like, this sucks now. And not to mention like me, again, comparing myself to my peers who were actively in school in nice little luxury apartments doing what I said I was gonna do. So not only did I graduate college and I'm working at Olive Garden and my peers from school are doing this professional path, like I feel so less than. And I remember that like the only way that I was really able to get through it and remind myself that like the path that I'm on is different is just by being delusional. I was like, oh my god, like yeah, like I can't say I made it if I didn't struggle, and now I made it. And I'm like, and I struggled, and it helped develop the plot, and it helped me appreciate the space that I'm in and be grateful for the abundance that I have. But that was something that I had to go through to get to this next step. You're gonna have resentment for it, and that's okay, but remind yourself that it is temporary. It is temporary. It's temporary. It's temporary. Okay. And I had to remind myself that you're gonna be okay. You are gonna be absolutely okay, and I can promise you that with certainty. If you go into it with an optimistic mind, you will get everything that you need out of it. Be open to growth, be open to learning, be open, to different things and trying different things and doing things out of your comfort zone, because that is when you're gonna finally figure out that your path is unfolding the way that it's meant to. And you're not gonna take it personal that like there are certain things in your life that aren't on this imaginary timeline that you want it to be on, because again, it doesn't exist, and that's okay. Everybody feels the same way. At least that's what I realized. Okay guys, I promise we are getting to the end of this episode. I do want to share some tips that have also kind of helped me a little bit. So if you find yourself like feeling this overwhelming feeling of being behind, I really encourage you to journal. I encourage you to unpack that, right? Because is it that you feel behind because you're not at where you want to be at because you're comparing yourself to other people? Or do you feel like you're behind because you have not created any steps or made any steps towards the life that you want? Okay? That is the first thing, okay? Because you can't be mad at feeling behind if you haven't took any steps to the person that you're supposed to be. The second thing is social media. Like, I need you to create like actual boundaries with it. This is the first time in history that we have ever had this much exposure to other people's lives. And again, we are just seeing a highlight reel of that. It's not as luxurious and as lavish and as good of a feeling as you think it is. So if there's something or someone that is triggering you, I need you to curate your For You page, curate your Instagram, curate your YouTube to people and to things that make you feel better about yourself, that encourage you, that motivate you, versus you being envious of someone else's life or someone else's, love life or someone else's whatever the fuck it is. Like, you need to get rid of that. Like, there have been time and time like where I have hidden or blocked or removed other people, and not because I have anything against them for the most part, but because I'm like, this is negatively affecting my mental health. It's the same thing like with an ex or something. Like, I have no issue blocking an ex if I'm stalking their page every day and it's making me upset. I'm going to block them. I need to remove that out of my space, out of my sight, because I'm only hurting myself and I'm only holding myself back. Same thing with other people that you see. If seeing them triggers you, one, address it, okay, unpack it, and two, remove it until you're in a better space. And then the last thing is just talking to others. Like, talk to other people, because I guarantee you, your friends and your peers and your mom and maybe your dad, your cousins, your brother, random strangers on the internet, I am sure they feel the exact same way that you feel to some degree. I'm sure they have experienced that feeling of being behind. And I think that talking it out, like, I think that people can both bring themselves to reality that like, hey, like, this is normal, this is how it's supposed to be right now, and that's okay. Even if you're older, like, and you've been holding this in and you've been feeling like all, these same exact feelings, talk it out to someone, okay? And don't be embarrassed about that. Like, vulnerability is not embarrassing, it's powerful. And I highly encourage you all to be more vulnerable with the people in your life and in those spaces. Obviously, like, I know this was a lot, but I would love to hear some of the things that you guys are struggling with, or maybe feeling like, or maybe talk about a story that can like encourage someone else or motivate someone else, or even encourage me and put some perspective and light into me about like just this feeling, this overwhelming feeling of being behind, and just offer that reassurance and putting it out there in that space. I think that obviously social media, as damaging as it can be, like, it can be a good place, but we just have to show up for it in that way, okay? So I'm putting a little bit of the responsibility on you guys in the comments. Also, don't be too cry. Like, don't make it too sad though, because I'm a crier. Like, when I read these comments, sometimes I be crying. And I'm like, damn it, it's not late enough for me to be crying yet. And again, I just want to end it on this. Like, timelines are not real, okay? This feeling of you being behind is not real. It's imaginary, and that you haven't reached your peak yet. And I think that there's something that's kind of exciting about knowing that, like, you're not even there yet. Everything is like a little lesson, and you're doing good. I'm proud of you. Like, even the fact that you're watching this video to this point, like, I'm proud of you. Okay, and you should be proud of yourself. You're gonna be okay. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. If you didn't, I don't really know what to say. I'm a little embarrassed, but also I don't care. Obviously, like, I'm not the most consistent person with this podcast. Like, talking about topics like this, like, it can be also like a little triggering for me as well. So like, I get anxious every time I come and sit in this car and grab this mic. But like, you know, if it can help one person or one person can connect or relate to me, then that's all that really matters. And like, I will continue to show up in that space. Yeah, so if you haven't already liked and subscribed, I think it's a bit weird, but that's right, you can do it now. And then guys, I really am working on getting this on the distribution sites. And when I say I really am working on it, I'm lying. I have not been working on it because I've been overwhelmed and stressed. But before the end of summer, these will be on podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music, and whatever else hosts podcast episodes. Okay, awesome. Kiss? Yeah.
Oh, behave. Yeah. Yeah, baby. Yeah.